When bankers leave the country club on a Sunday for an emergency meeting, they are in full-blown panic. And that's exactly what the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve Bank did when they had a closed-door emergency meeting on Sunday to discuss what to do with the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. Now, I'm sure they had a heated discussion. Maybe names were called. Perhaps someone threw a chair. Just kidding. I bet they couldn't decide on the actual number, but they all knew they were going to be giving some money away. I bet the only thing they really had a serious discussion about was how they were going to spin it in the news on Monday. Let me give it a shot. We're going to hear, "The crisis is contained," or, "Well, we expected something like this and we have a plan for it. But the economy is strong. We have everything under control. No need to panic." Yeah, sure. I'll be looking for the words contained and strong economy to be blasted on repeat from the talking heads that Biden controls, like CNN and MSNBC. Now, Silicon Valley Bank had about $152 billion in uninsured assets. The FDIC will cover some of the losses. If you had less than $250,000 in your account, you're going to be reimbursed through the insurance program. But there was $152 billion in those accounts that was not covered by the FDIC. So tough luck, right? Hey, you should have picked a better bank. No, of course not. They broke all the rules, and the Fed or the Treasury is going to pay everyone back. This is called a bailout. The bailouts have started already. But Janet Yellen stated this would not affect any taxpayers. How can she say this with a straight face? Let me get this straight. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised even a little bit, but I am confused. $152 billion is going to appear out of thin air so these accounts can be reimbursed. Not a single penny will be lost by the bank depositors. And it's not going to cost taxpayers anything. No, seriously, where does the money come from? If they can just tap a keyboard a few times and the money appears like magic and poof, it's back in those accounts, why can't they just do that for everything? I would have no problem sending a few billion to Ukraine if it's just keyboard money. Just kidding. Everyone knows they're lying. Of course they're lying. They're always lying. All they can do is lie. But the question that should be on everyone's lips is, where did that $152 billion go? It disappeared. Sure, I get that. But because you can't see it, doesn't mean that it no longer exists. Someone has it. This bank turned super woke in the last few years of its pathetic life. Maybe they donated it to an LGBTQ group. Listen, Pride Month is coming up again in June. And when the entire country is covered head to toe in pride flags, listen, those flags don't pay for themselves. Someone sponsored that madness. That could be it, but it could also be political contributions. That guy Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX, he also donated billions to Biden and other Democrats right before his business imploded. Hey, his name was Bankman. Literally, Bank Man. That's probably just a coincidence. Would you be shocked to know that most of the executive board on the Silicon Valley Bank sold massive amounts of shares before the bank imploded? Now that knucklehead Jim Cramer from CNBC told everyone to buy SVB.
Ninth best performer year to date is SVB Financial, don't you want? This company's a merchant bank with a deposit base that Wall Street had been mistakenly concerned about. SVB is the old Silicon Valley Bank. Recently bought one of our favorite research firms, Moffett-Nathanson, and it's become less dependent upon private equity and venture capitalist offerings. Wait a second. Those dried up last year. They could come back. Yes, some of them come back here, but the stock directly affects an oversold position. Stock was the fourth worst performer in 2022. I think the fears were not justified, and it's a very compelling situation. Hey, by the way, long-term private equity and venture capital, they're not going away. Being the banker to these immense pools of capital has always been a very good business. Stock's still cheap. Now, you have to remember that a stock that falls 66%, like SVB Financial did last year, it takes it a lot more to recover. After losing 2/3 of your value, you need a 200% gain to get back to even. This is arithmetic. Some people call it geometry. So you could argue SVB's nearly 40% rally this year is barely a drop in the bucket. And that's how I want you to think it. I think it's also a good example of why these bounce-back moves might be far from over. These stocks could have more room to run, especially if you think they were driven down to artificially low levels by tax loss selling, artificial dumping, like we saw in Warner Bros. Discovery or Tesla. That's important because today was one of the worst days since the year began. After these stocks were big participants in the decline, I understand that. Many of the bounces this year have come from stocks that were heavily shorted. Many of them were correctly beaten down. It's just that the declines got a little too excessive when nothing really bad happened.
Funny how that works. Liquidity, supply versus demand. The bank shareholders needed to unload their shares. But to who? If they put them all on the market at the same time, people would notice and the stock price would drop. But get this Jim Cramer to sell it like snake oil to uneducated CNBC viewers, and they'll just line up to buy it. Now, the executive board of SVB just got a fresh bunch of new buyers for their junk stock just before it crashed. Do you think this was a conspiracy? If I had to lay an opinion on the table, Jim Cramer lined these people up for slaughter. The bank execs sold their shares because they knew. Rich just get richer. Now, I can appreciate an inventor that creates a product and makes himself rich, but this kind of fraud to get rich, it just pisses me off. Now, while I was writing these notes, a third bank was just shuttered. New York Signature Bank was closed, or seized, or taken over by the feds on a Sunday night. This shit is getting serious. You better be paying attention. That's 3 banks in the last few days. Now keep in mind, banks aren't even open on the weekends. Monday, when you're seeing this, might be a bloodbath. If you haven't made preparations, it might be too late. And then again, I always say, just in case, I might be wrong. I mean, I haven't been wrong yet about this, but I might be wrong, and this might be a nothing burger, and it just kind of goes away. What do you think? You think I'm right or not? You think it's going to be a bloodbath or not? You think someone stole the money or not? Leave me some comments. This is getting fun. So, do you have any money stashed away for emergencies? Or are you planning on heading out as fast as you can to withdraw some cash? You might be waiting in line. Being a few years early is way better than being one day too late. Anyway, I got more videos coming later, so I'll see you soon.